This feels crazy to me. In December of 2022, I had a dream about my ex from 2019. In the dream, there were many people preparing for a trip. I didn't recognize the house or the people, except for my ex. He was following me around while I packed. I didn't know what I was packing for at the time, but he kept saying, "We have to go, we have to go." This went on for a while until I realized we were in an empty airport heading to a plane. The plane was dark, with the only light coming from the open door at the back where people were boarding. Inside the plane, there was a solid black wall at the front, almost like a black hole. Everyone sat facing it. My ex was sitting next to me, and I was in the aisle seat. As the plane started to take off, I asked him, "Where are we going?" He replied, "Arizona." I panicked, saying, "Arizona? I don't know anyone there." Feeling uneasy and anxious, I decided I couldn't go, so I headed towards the back of the plane, which was now open with escalators and stairs covered in velvet flooring, like the entrance to an opera auditorium. At the top, there was someone like a bellboy, but I walked past and found myself back in the same house from the beginning of the dream. My ex was there on the sidewalk, looking very healthy. I apologized, saying I didn't know anyone in Arizona. He smiled, turned, and walked away. He got into a brown old Cadillac with someone in the driver's seat. They drove off. I woke up sweating and completely confused. I decided to look him up on Facebook. It turned out there was a memorial on his page indicating his passing 2 days prior. I feel like he was trying to take me with him. When I was around 14 years old, I started having these short, recurring dreams of me in front of a temple, sitting cross-legged with a little girl in my lap. Everything was in black and white. She was a small white girl wearing a white dress and had long black hair. She looked so innocent. Somehow in the dream, I knew she was slowly dying in my arms. The reason why this creeps me out a little is because I kept on having this dream, and each time, she would creep closer and closer to death. The worst part is that I had this agonizing feeling that there was something I could do about it, but I had no idea how to stop it. Eventually, I had the dream where she finally died in my arms. The dream stopped. I still feel like I failed her. I had a dream where my 3-year-old daughter and I were standing on a dock at a lake. She slipped off and fell in the lake. She sank like a stone. I immediately dived in after her, swimming straight down to try to catch up with her. I remember her looking up at me, reaching up to me, opening her mouth and trying to scream. I remember seeing the bubbles from her mouth drift up towards me. I was swimming downward as fast as I could, trying to grab her arms, her pigtails, anything. I remember reaching the point where I knew that even if I reached her, I would not be able to make it to the surface. I resolved to not let her die alone. I kept swimming down. For all my efforts, she was sinking away from me faster than I could swim toward her. I watched her slip further and further away, the image of her growing blurrier and blurrier in the murky water. I woke up. I immediately ran to my daughter's room and picked her up and hugged her. At the time, I was in the process of separating from my then wife, so to me, there's no great mystery surrounding the meaning of this dream. I had another dream. My cell phone went off. Everyone's phone did. Not an Amber Alert? National emergency? The text didn't give any specifics, so we were all left guessing. Chances were a nuclear strike, probably from North Korea or Russia. My money was on North Korea. Fear ran from my bottomed-out stomach up the back of my head. What do I do? No time. A shift in scene like dreams often do. On a ship or underwater base. Me and a few other people, their number and gender lost to the dream, stood around a pool of water fed by the ocean. It was the area within the vessel where submersibles were launched. The water was clear and cold. I stood closest to the water, watching the first creature come into view. Everyone gasped. I couldn't. It looked like an elongated dolphin without the fins, and it was all black. Someone said those monsters were the reasons for the apocalypse. Those monsters? That meant there were more. How did they bring about the end of all things? Were they not confined to the ocean? What exactly were they? Before I could imagine more questions, the ship lurched. I splashed into the water. The dolphin thing ignored me. I wish the floating heads did as well. Whether they were victims or more nightmarish creatures, I don't know, but they were alive. Several heads, intact with ears, eyes, mouths. Short hands ending in even smaller hands grew from each side of their frames. They came from the deep and swam right towards me. The black swimmer ignored them, too. I had to get out of the water. I felt dirty, as if the water defiled me instead of rinsing me clean. The heads caught up to me. I kicked one away, all while trying to climb back up to dry ground. Would these heads eat me or just draw blood, which would attract the stern attention of the long black swimmer? I don't know. But I was back in the ship. The other people there kept their distance from me in the busy water. I felt filthy. Those heads, they did something awful to the water. Water I fell into. Water I got into my eyes, my mouth, my ears. I would never feel clean again.